this module, we will review additional considerations for adaptive cycling beyond the human factors of the individual. Some additional considerations include access to trial devices and areas to try adaptive cycling, funding sources, storage, transportation, emergency preparedness, maintenance, and off-season or inclement weather options. Access should be considered as a device similar to the type of cycle being pursued should be trialed prior to ordering. There are many options, brands, styles, setups, accessories, so the individual should have the opportunity to try different cycles and assess what best meets their needs. Some rehabilitation programs and clinics do have cycles available for trial, but if not, community organizations that host adaptive sports may have equipment available for demonstration or short-term loan. Manufacturers or suppliers of adaptive cycles may be contacted to assist with obtaining a demonstration device, particularly in an area with less access to devices or for an individual with specific needs. Most commercial and public insurances do not cover adaptive cycles. In some cases, workers' compensation plans or other non-traditional insurances may cover exercise equipment, and funding could be explored for adaptive cycles. However, there are many grant opportunities, local, regional, and national, that could be explored to assist in funding adaptive cycles. Many veteran health programs and adaptive sports organizations may cover the expense of an adaptive cycle and should be explored if a veteran is interested in participating in an adaptive cycling program. Resources for grants and other funding opportunities are linked in this course. Storage is a consideration for adaptive cycles, perhaps beyond a traditional bicycle. Because many adaptive cycles are large and require significant space for storage, the size of the cycle should be considered, and where the individual using it is going to store both when they're using it frequently and taking it out, and when they're storing it perhaps for the winter. Equipment needs should be considered if the device needs to be stored in an indoor or could be stored in an outdoor location. Doesn't it need to be under cover, or could it be stored, for example, on a porch? Is power or heating or cooling needed to protect the integrity of the device? This is particularly necessary if the device has power assistance. And the accessibility of the space to the individual using the cycle should be considered. There may be space in their garage, perhaps, but if they do not access their garage, they cannot use the device independently. Similarly, because of the size of the cycles, portability and transportation should be considered. Again, many are large and do not easily break down for transport and do not fit on traditional bicycle racks. Portability and the method of transport should be considered when recommending an adaptive cycle. In addition to the vehicle and method of transportation, consideration should be taken if the person is using the adaptive cycle can load or unload the cycle independently, or if they'll require assistance. Some examples of options, or could the seats be folded down inside of a vehicle or seats removed? There are sometimes specific hitch racks that can be used, but that requires the vehicle to both have the hitch and the rack to be obtained. Other individuals may use a trailer and tow the cycle. Other considerations similar to transport is it safe or appropriate to transport the cycle in an open trailer versus does it have to be a closed trailer? Just many conversations might need to take place to problem solve and determine the best method for transport, and this may influence the type of cycle that a person might pursue. Emergency preparedness should be considered for somebody who is pursuing an adaptive cycle. While this is not necessarily different for somebody using a traditional bicycle, as a medical emergency or a cycle emergency could occur while they are cycling, there may be additional considerations depending on someone's disability and physical function. Medical emergencies, if an individual has a medical emergency while they are cycling, a plan should be discussed for how they could manage it if they're able to. Can they access their personal phone? Can they use voice control if they will have it with them but may not be able to physically obtain it from a pocket or a pouch on the cycle? And other considerations for medical emergencies that might occur specific to their disability should be discussed. A cycle emergency could occur while someone is riding, again, similar to a bicycle, like a flat tire or an issue with the chain. If particularly if someone's going to cycle independently, they should strategize how they would manage this issue. If they are going to be in a remote area where cellular service is not reliable or possible, or even if it is, but assistance couldn't get to them, say on a trail, what are their options for correcting this issue? These conversations may lead to discussion that the safest plan is for an individual to cycle with a partner, and discussions of who that partner is and do they need to be trained to assist. Or if they're cycling independently and do need assistance, can they direct a passerby to assist with obtaining their phone or potentially supplies off the bike, how to assist safely. Additional technology might be needed to call for help. For example, a smartphone may be useful for someone who has limited hand function. Their hands might be strapped to their cycle, and so they would not be able to independently remove them to touch a phone, so they could use voice activation. Cycles require maintenance and repairs, so instruction on maintenance should be part of the process in obtaining a cycle. Things like changing tires, using lube on a chain, or tightening brakes might be something to consider. If a person is not able to do this independently, either a care partner or training partner or other person might be able to assist. Also, something that might be useful is identifying a local traditional bike shop that might be able to assist, particularly for these less complex needs, like changing a tire. Many bike shops are able to manage and are happy to do so. While an individual is exploring obtaining a bike and when they're training with it, they should be encouraged to identify their strategy for performing maintenance and encouraged to reach out to a local shop that might be able to assist. For more complex or specific to an adaptive cycle, repairs, the manufacturer or supplier contacts would be needed if it's beyond tires, tubes, chain, or brake cables, or something similar that might be available readily online or at a bike shop. And lastly, some considerations for off-season or inclement weather. The use of an indoor trainer may be something to consider. There are different styles based on the location of the drive wheel, but they are typically different than an indoor trainer used for a bicycle. They might be more appropriate given the type of resistance for more competitive cyclists. However, they could be useful for a variety of adaptive cyclists during inclement weather or off-season training. The use of a trainer may also be useful in a clinical or community setting for someone during initial training because it would be easier to monitor status, make adjustments to fit and stop and start the trial rather than having to keep up with a person moving. They can, the clinician or someone monitoring can be stationary next to the trainer and the cyclist can pause to make adjustments or monitor vitals, for example. The next module will review case studies of different types of adaptive cycles and different individuals who use them.